To the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, at the daily briefing in Abuja, expressed concerns over continued disregard for PTF guidelines by Nigerians. Mitaire Ikben reports.
100 days after Nigeria's COVID-19 index case was discovered, and despite 5 weeks of lockdown, the PTF says Nigerians still think COVID-19 is a joke.
Early assessment of the ease of lockdown phase indicate that Nigerians are yet to come to terms with the deadliness and the virulent nature of the COVID-19. Some of these areas of worries include increased level of interstate movements, unhygienic and ill-advised use and sharing of masks, especially multiple fittings before buying from the vendors. I want to reiterate the fact that our individual and collective safety is in our hands.
We are clearly in community transmission phase, where much now depends on individual and collective behavior.
While calling for increased enforcement of the guidelines by the security agencies, the PTF extended a ban on all domestic and international flights.
Based on the evidence of experts, the ban on all flights will be extended for an additional 4 weeks.
We will not be able to just open up after closing for several weeks.
Following reports that security personnel are denying journalists movement during curfew, this clarification was given.
Of course, journalists are exempted. I'm surprised that you're having issues.
Anybody with a valid identification as a journalist is allowed to move about unmolested.
Other ministers gave sectoral updates.
There's another flight that we had arranged for Friday, British Airways from the UK.
The National Social Register, with the accelerated registration and rapid expansion, the register has now grown to 3.1 million.
The Presidential Task Force has appealed to banks to address all issues relating to difficulty in using their online platforms, especially revalidation of expired ATM cards of Nigerians. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Now, containing the spread of COVID-19 and managing those affected requires partnership of public and private sector.
The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Bajabiamila, during a visit to the This Day Isolation Center in Abuja, gave a thumbs up to the combined efforts of some organizations as they commit resources to assist government overcome the pandemic. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
This here is the Dome, a popular event center in the heart of Abuja, now converted to an isolation and treatment center for COVID-19. It has a 320-bed capacity and is 98% complete. The center has already been fitted with beddings and other facilities preparatory to its usage as a coronavirus management center. It was donated by Nduka Begbina, publisher of This Day newspaper. The China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation Nigeria is carrying out the civil works required at no cost, while the project is jointly handled with the Sahara Foundation.
I must commend every player. This is not, there can't be any corporate social responsibility beyond this. And you have three groups of people who have deployed the use of their corporate social responsibility into the establishment of this place.
There's also an arrangement to give the health workers hotel around here where they can go when they leave rather than go home to mix and mingle with their family members.
It's a task for all Nigerians to ensure that this virus is defeated.
I want to say thank you to Nigeria as a whole for allowing us to serve. May none of us ever have to use this place, but if we ever need to use it, I think like the Duke has said, it is available.
This center will go a long way in further ramping up federal government's response in tackling the pandemic. Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now, the effect of intense community transmission of COVID-19 is of great concern to government and traditional leaders in the country.
This necessitated the emergency online meeting of Northern traditional leaders with the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire. Basi Taikman reports that the issue of Almajiri repatriation came to the fore.
Records show that confirmed cases of COVID-19 is on the increase in the country. More worrisome, the Minister of Health noted, is the fact that a substantial number of these cases have no travel history nor contact with infected. It therefore becomes imperative that traditional leaders safeguard their communities by mobilizing, sensitizing, reporting and monitoring activities within their domains to ensure preventive measures are being adhered to.
We must not lose the gains that we have made in the past. We understand that the protection of the people is a divine responsibility bestowed on our royal fathers.
And it is important that the leadership from the communities all the way to the national level is strong, is consistent, and our message is without any ambiguity about how we can stop this outbreak.
Traditional leaders that participated at the online meeting stressed the need for Almajiris repatriated to be properly tested and strict adherence to set down rules to avoid further spread. Some advocated for the establishment of more isolation centers in their domain. They reiterated their support to the federal government towards ending COVID-19 in the country. Basi Taipa, NTA News.
Now, more groups are still benefiting from the benevolence of the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, with the latest being religious bodies. Monso Damian Dete report.
In ensuring that the weak and needy are fully captured, the First Lady is relying on the men and women of faith to identify the most vulnerable amongst them to receive some relief. First, it was the representatives of the Christian Association of Nigeria and the Catholic community who were presented with assorted bags of food items by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Women Affairs and Administration, Office of the First Lady, Dr. Hajo Sani, on behalf of Mrs. Aisha Buhari.
For those well-to-do Nigerians, it is now time to reach out to the poor. A lot of people are suffering and they need our help. Little by little, if we get all these things together, we can reach out to those who really need it.
We reach out to the needy in the society because this item is meant for them, the masses, and especially our mothers, the children, the men, everybody will benefit from it.
Then came leaders of the Muslim society to receive and further distribute to the less privileged in their groups.
This is a very good kind gesture, most especially at this crucial period when people are in need of this assistance. You know, in the month of Ramadan, there are a lot of things that when we do it to people, they'll be very happy.
This one is going to be a long way in our lives. We cannot forget this gesture.
We presented to them all the food items that Her Excellency had donated to them to be shared among their members, at least to support them out of this critical period as her contribution towards the fight against COVID-19.
The wife of the president cautioned that the food items received are to be given to the most needy in the Christian and Muslim circles, as identified by their leaders. Momso Damian Ati, NTA News.
The federal government has approved a 2-month license fee waiver for terrestrial broadcast stations in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed announced this at a meeting with members of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
The waiver, as approved by the federal government, the Information and Culture Minister said, is part of initiatives to serve as palliatives to cushion the effects of the hardship board members are going through in the face of the current pandemic.
I make bold to say that while board members have been hit very hard by the effects of the current pandemic, they are not alone. In fact, the entire creative industry which also covers the broadcast industry, has been affected by the pandemic and has inflicted extensive damage on the economy of nations across the world.
To this end, the minister explained that a committee has been set up to look into the situation and advise government appropriately on the best way to mitigate the effects of the pandemic on the industry.
Therefore, there's no doubt that we need a collective and government-supported approach in dealing with the immediate short and long-term palliative and initiatives for the industry in order to mitigate the effect of the pandemic on the sector.
Vice Chairman Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, Godfrey Ohuabunwa, explained that the impact of COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected the economy and way of life, creating platforms for nations to review their survival strategies.
While we appreciate the efforts of government in tackling the pandemic, we urge for government intervention so as to save the sector from imminent collapse arising from declining revenue.
Bond, however, used the opportunity to commend the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and all frontline workers in the fight against the pandemic. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Now, some Nigerians have continued to disobey orders and defy precautionary measures against COVID-19 as a total lockdown is eased. Adebola Brooksland Sunday has the details.
It's third day of the partial lockdown and overnight curfew announced by the federal government. The roads are free for both pedestrians and motorists, but some Nigerians have refused to adhere strictly to the guidelines that accompany the ease. To curtail the spread of COVID-19, the government also announced the compulsory wearing of face masks, which created an opportunity for business-minded Nigerians to make bricks business. Shop owners around the popular UTC printing complex were seen trying to force themselves into one of the plazas, not minding the physical distancing rule.
We feel we should go back to job to start earning our normal daily income. If this pandemic spread now, I want to work, I want to do my job, won't be there again. So we need to safeguard our lives first.
We shouldn't wait for us to begin to experience that kind of huge number of deaths before we begin to observe the rules that are given to us now.
The limit of passengers in vehicles might have affected the rates of income for commercial drivers. Isiaka Baba said they can't wait for situation to return to normal.
I carry 100 naira, but now it's 150 bytes. That's 3. That's 450. So before you carry 600.
2 people at the back seat of the car. I think it's a way to control the spread.
I also visited one of the mobile courts located around the Galadimawa roundabouts set up for offenders. Faforiji Adeyegba is one of those who flouted the order on restriction of movements. In his judgment, Senior Magistrate Musa Abdulrazak Eneye said the people have breached the curfew order under the Quarantine Act 2004.
Fuel. As I bought the fuel finish, on the way coming, I reached Galadima roundabout. Police arrested me there. I'm very, very happy for the judgment they are judging.
Medical experts say the ease on the lockdown does not translate into return to normal way of life before the pandemic. Adebola Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
If drastic and urgent measures are not taken in enforcing the preventive measures, especially social distancing, cases of community transmission of COVID-19 may start to rise exponentially.
This conclusion was reached after the visit of Adebola Brooksland Sunday to Goza Market along Airport Road in Abuja.
Goza Market, located few kilometers away from the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, is the biggest weekly market on the airport road in the Federal Capital Territory. In their numbers, customers trudge the markets using the window of home stocking to buy what their households will need for the week. Respiratory hygiene, physical distancing, and hand disinfection are some of the preventive measures instituted by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Obviously, this is not being observed here.
Hand washing points. How many times are we going to wash hands in a day? If not that God has blessed this country so much that we always survive in any crisis. If this is to be like America, we all would have been gone by now.
The sound of bell from Sadiq Abubakar attracted us to his stand, only for him to tell us he bills people to wash and sanitize their hands.
We used to collect 15 naira from people. We were expecting a lot of people, but they never came to market.
The closure of banks appeared to have given Kajeta Agbo an opportunity to make more money by charging 200 naira per 5,000 naira withdrawal from his POS.
But we are just providing some skeletal services from banks in order to help people secure their needs.
We are not used to.
Iboroka Ezekiel knows the implication of not taking preventive measures, but she told me life is all about risk.
It's market. There's no anyhow you don't touch somebody. There's no anyhow you are in the market. But I believe in God.
At both entry and exit points, I observed that the market management is only after ticketing, and one of them, John Auger, said they have been helpless based on the caliber of people that come into the markets.
We have been encouraging them when they are coming in and going out that they should put a mask on their mouth and put the hand gloves in their hand. But most of them say they won't. They will not do it. So we want government to enforce it for us.
Now that the Federal Capital Territory Administration has extended market opening hours to 3 p.m. from 8 a.m. on Wednesdays and Saturdays for the likes of Sadiq and Kajetan to make bricks business as well as to enable people to purchase food items, observers say more efforts must be made to ensure social distancing to prevent more community transmission of COVID-19. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Malik, a young man in that report, asked how many times we should wash our hands, and then I think he recited the prayer.
Honestly,
it shows that
I was caught aback.
Enlightenment.
Honestly,
there's need for serious public enlightenment. You know what we saw there: no social distancing, no masks, and all that.
Well, I'll tell you my own experience after the news. My own experience at the market. I'm sure you have yours too. But in any case, it's very good for us to adhere strictly to all the preventive measures. Now, Federal Road Safety Corps has commenced the enforcement of social distancing in commercial vehicles with emphasis on stipulated number of passengers that should be in a particular vehicle and also ensuring the use of nose masks. Oyemi Ajayi has the details.
The partial relaxation of lockdown by the federal government has provided the opportunity for people to once again go about their duties and economic activities, but with precautionary measures which includes social distancing, washing of hands, maintaining environmental and personal hygiene against the spread of coronavirus. Aside these, commercial drivers within the states are expected to reduce their passengers by 50%.
But we don't want a situation where we go on the road and drop all the passengers.
A visit to some of the parks by the Federal Road Safety Corps reveals that most of the commercial operators are already adhering to it, with much enforcement on the use of nose masks.
We used to pick 3 or 4 at the back, then we manage ourselves, then we cook up to do our things. But normal price before now, it was 200 naira that we used to pick from Gwagwa to this place.
Some commercial buses found flouting the order have been cautioned or risk being grounded, as defaulters will be tried at the mobile courts.
Making sure that the physical distancing is adhered to, 1 in front and 2 at the back for taxis, and 50% for buses. This is what we are here for is multifaceted. We're looking at whether they are carrying overloading, whether they are adhering to physical distancing, and whether they are using face masks as instructed.
The Corps actually appealed to passengers not to allow drivers go against the presidential order, which would jeopardize efforts of containing the spread of COVID-19 in the country. In Abuja, Oyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Still ahead.
President Muhammadu Buhari appoints former IGP Suleiman Abba Chairman Police Trust Fund Board of Trustees, along with other members.
According to online community policing platform Check My People, they say police don't catch the house girl we carry in Madam Children run.
Want to be sure your staff is who they say they are? Let's Check My People help you with background checks. First, enroll your current domestic staff at www.checkmypeople.com using their NIN. Verify them on Check My People against the national database at NIMC to ensure they are who they say they are. If you get domestic staff from an agency, register that agency on checkmypeople.com. Document your experience with the agency and staff. Rate them on our system so others can see their track record. If you are seeking a new domestic help, verify their NIN first at Check My People. Then use their NIN to search our database to see if they have a work history, if they have committed crimes elsewhere. Wouldn't it be good to know? Remember, most crimes are committed by repeat offenders. Do your due diligence. Check My People. Trust, but verify.
Thanks for staying with us. The federal government has commenced the process of evacuating willing Nigerian nationals outside the country. A statement issued by the spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Abuja, indicates that in accordance with the global best practices and guidelines by the Federal Ministry of Health and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the evacuees on arrival in Nigeria will undergo a mandatory 14-day supervised quarantine in a monitored environment. The statement further indicates that the ministry has made adequate arrangements for hotel accommodation in Lagos and Abuja. The selected hotels have been inspected and certified by the Ports Health Services, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Office of the National Security Advisor, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Furthermore, discussions are ongoing with British Airways through the British High Commission in Nigeria to evacuate about 300 Nigerians from London on Friday, 8th May 2020. Also, additional arrangements are equally being made with Ethiopian Airlines to facilitate the evacuation of another batch of evacuees from New York to Abuja on Monday, 11th May 2020. The federal government wishes to reassure Nigerians of its unwavering commitment to ensuring the welfare and safety of all citizens.
Meanwhile, 256 Nigerians among those stranded abroad due to the global lockdown occasioned by the coronavirus have arrived at the international wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, on board Emirate Airline. The returnees passed through thorough screening by the officials of the NCDC to determine their state of health before leaving the terminal to identify their luggage and joined a stationed luxury bus conveying them to a designated hotel. The evacuees will undergo a mandatory 14-day quarantine before they are permitted to join their families.
In the meantime, a Nigerian lady, Mrs. Kafayat Amusa, one of the stranded Nigerian travelers returning from Dubai, UAE, has been delivered of a baby boy on board Emirates Airline departing from Lagos Wednesday. She put to bed on board the plane 30 minutes after departure, which resulted in the plane returning to Dubai after takeoff. In a release, Head Media and Publicity, Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abdurrahman Balogun, said the mother and child are currently on admission at a hospital in Dubai. It states further that the Nigerian ambassador to the United Arab Emirates and staff of the embassy are in touch with the mother and child who are in good condition. Chairman and CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerians in a Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, has congratulated Amusu but indicated that she will return to Nigeria after obtaining birth certificate and other necessary travel documents for her baby.
Interesting news right there. Now, experts advocate short-term fiscal support for the recovery of the economy and improve social safety net and broad-based fiscal support to make a comeback from COVID-19 pandemic. This and other financial report with Comfort Amadou.
Amaka dey sweet before, but this coronavirus now it make scatter everything.
With the new normal, it's no longer business as usual, as the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to test African countries on multiple fronts, from health to economic devastation and low demand for crude, as well as sharp fall of oil prices. Despite the gradual relaxation of lockdown order across the globe, COVID-19 has forced major companies and businesses around the globe to rely basically on technology to function, whether they're using it to hold virtual meetings or monitoring vital assets. This technological solution is believed to help sustain businesses as well as develop ways to make a comeback after the pandemic. How will this shape the future of businesses in Nigeria?
I believe that we should all brace up because users will get used to realizing that a lot of things don't have to be done with physical interaction. So for us as an online business, we're excited at the future, what the future looks like. We've just been able to prove to users now on a different level the importance of marketplaces like ours, e-commerce businesses, delivery-based businesses. I believe going forward, this would be very important for a lot of people as they now rely on digital products.
With that, financial experts suggest that African countries should develop fair, balanced local content policies that create economic and educational opportunities for Africans in order not to discourage foreign investors from operating in the region.
Every country has a sort of negative impact of this on investment climate. But you see, a good thing about this thing is this, which I'm hearing from government on its own is cutting down expenses, trying to realign the MDAs, ministry, department, and agencies, so that the revision in the budgetary position in line with the reality of the oil, which was initially 50-something naira per dollar, has been cut down. Second time, it's now 20. So which means government is aware that they have to do something. And if they do that, that means less revenue will be available for spending. That means both the executive and the parliament and every organs of the government must be ready to slash their budget. Everybody must be ready to adjust. So once we are ready to adjust, and then we actually put stimulus packages to the productive sector of the economy, we shall come out of it.
And investors made a mark on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange by gaining 174.09 billion naira, which firmed up the all-share index by 1.40%, closing above 24,000 basis points. With business news, Comfort Amadou.
Thanks a lot, Comfort. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has announced a reduction in the ex-depot price of petrol from 113 naira 28 kobo per litre to 108 naira per litre across all its products loading facilities. A statement by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Dr. Kenny Obateru, indicates that the Managing Director of the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, PPMC, Musa Lawan, has okayed the new ex-depot price of premium motor spirits, PMS, otherwise called petrol, reflecting the company's market strategy to make more sales while complying with the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency's price template. Lawan explained that the new price regime would enable PPMC boost its sales volumes from billions of liters of petrol it has in its storage while providing affordable price to millions of customers. He said the new price was arrived at after extensive review of market realities by the PPMC Internal Price Review Unit. The PPMC MD, however, pointed out that automotive gas oil AGO, otherwise called diesel, already deregulated and its prices are determined by market forces. The statement further says NNPC's ex-coastal price from PMS was reviewed downwards on 19th March 2020 from 117 naira 6 kobo per litre to 99 naira 44 kobo per litre, while ex-depot price was reduced from 133 naira 28 kobo per litre to 113 naira 28 kobo per litre.
Now, after the initial disinfection of public places, the Federal Ministry of Environment has issued certificate of decontamination to some ministries and agencies of government, as well as private organizations in the Federal Capital Territory.
NTA Fineface reports that the certification requires sustenance of health, social distancing and other protocols to prevent contamination of the certified locations.
COVID-19 has no cure, but the virus can be prevented. To keep the virus away, the federal government flagged off the contamination of public places in April 2020. Over 200 high-risk areas, including work environments, markets, motor parks and roads, were disinfected. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA headquarters, is among agencies covered in the first phase of the exercise and one of several public and private organizations receiving certificates of decontamination from the Ministry of Environment.
They have to continue to observe all these measures, the washing of hands, the social distancing, and everything else, and keeping track of people that will be visiting that premises, and also keeping track of anybody that may exhibit symptoms of COVID-19 within that premises.
Certification by the ministry also comes with additional responsibility to maintain preventive protocols to forestall COVID-19 infections in affected premises.
COVID-19 has no cure. The only cure against COVID-19 is to make sure that you stay uninfected. We must all observe personal hygiene, right? We must keep to the social distancing advisory, right? We must avoid crowded environments. It is the responsibility of each and every single Nigerian to make sure that the war against COVID-19 is successfully executed.
50 premises have already been covered in the second phase, while collaborations are on to decontaminate airports and airplanes, as well as schools across the country. In Abuja, NTA Fineface, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. We have more reports when we return. Stay with us.
In times like this, the coronavirus is spreading so fast. The use of face masks has become very vital. More importantly, for the elderly in the society whom their immune system is not strong enough to fight the disease. If you must go out, use a face mask. It is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Wear your mask, I wear my mask. So much to do, but stay at home for your own safety. Make an extra washable mask and share with your neighbor. Everyone should use a face mask once you leave home to be safe from the coronavirus, especially the elderly persons in our society. Protect me, I'll protect you. This message was brought to you by the Coalition of Societies for the Right of Older Persons in Nigeria, COSRAPPing, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Thanks for staying with us. Countries of the world are held captive by the coronavirus pandemic, stopping every human activity or reducing them to the barest minimum. Wearing face masks is one of the measures taken globally to curb the spread of the virus.
While the mask serves as a preventive tool, they are, however, raising concern that it may also have consequences. Uche Gochuku finds out how true is this.
This is now the new look on Nigerian streets due to the directive for compulsory wearing of masks in the public to curb the spread of COVID-19. Mr. Obede, like all law-abiding citizens, wears this mask every time he leaves his house. It is a necessary but uncomfortable measure he has to take to be safe and also protect others.
Cover your mouth, cover your nose. Can't breathe well, so we are not too comfortable about it.
Wearing it is very hectic because it's something that one is not used to.
It's not easy, but someone just has to keep to it.
Mr. Obede and others may have a case, but does the prolonged use of face masks have any health implications, such as hypoxia, which is the absence of adequate oxygen in the tissues to sustain bodily functions, as it has been circulating lately?
Some say face masks will lead to lactic acidosis, some face masks will lead to fainting spell, all sorts of information out there, which I can tell you is not true. Because you are not expected to wear a face mask while you're sleeping. While you are within your premises in your house, you are not expected to wear a face mask. But when you are out, when you will be exposed to mingle and meet with people, you wear a face mask to protect yourself. The face mask that we are wearing has pores within it, openings, which permit free flow of air.
An expert opinion that will encourage Obede and all others to continue wearing face masks with no fear of medical complications. I am NTA News.
Now to compliance of hygiene. With the gradual easing of the lockdown by the federal government, the enforcement machineries of the federal government have also come alive. The idea is to ensure that commercial activities are carried out in compliance with the guidelines issued by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Aman Jabani examines the level of compliance in Nigeria.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. Misinformation spreads very fast.
The Nigerian Television Authority, which is a frontliner in enlightening the public on measures to stop the spread, is leading in the campaign to that guidelines put in place by the government and adhered to in all its stations across the country. Susan Allah, who is an assistant director of administration with the NTA, said the organization is strict with compliance to the guidelines.
As soon as you get to the gate, there's a place to wash your hands before you even get to the security. Immediately you get inside, there's a place to wash your hands. Within the premises, there are several places that have been made available for you to wash your hands. And we have even made a step forward to provide facial masks for our staff.
A visit to Jabi Motor Park, Banks and Wuse Market indicates an appreciable level of compliance with various measures.
In their various shops also, they should also have a small hand washing point, as well as the use of hand sanitizer, both for them and for their customers.
Whoever we come, we'll make sure that he use mask specs, and we'll give him hand sanitizer to wash his hand before starting doing anything.
Some members of the public interviewed commended the administrators of public places for carrying out necessary measures to curb the spread of the virus in the country.
So as you can see on there, it's posted there, no entry without face mask. So you must put on your face mask before you're allowed to enter.
Going in section by section and using the hand sanitizers and your face masks, I think they are trying to take the necessary precautions.
As the COVID-19 virus continues to ravage the world, Susan Allah of NTA is assuring that NTA, as a foremost media organization, will continue to adhere to all laid down guidelines by ensuring staff make safety a priority in carrying out their duties and protect themselves and their families. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
Has donated over 38 million naira to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs as support for Nigerian women who are worst hit by the effects of the lockdown. Momso Demiandeti captured the presentation at the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development headquarters in Abuja.
The Ministry of Women Affairs is opening its gates
After the long compulsory lockdown break, activities are gradually picking up, and the first callers to the ministry are the United Nations women.
No longer in the shadow, forced to stay behind.
Open gates later led to wide smiles, as they did not come empty-handed, but with some monetary support for Nigerian women who was hit by the effects of the lockdown.
Frontline services in Lagos, for example, have reported a 300% increase in gender-based violence cases from March to April. So in view of some of these challenges being faced by women, UN Women is very happy to be collaborating with the Ministry of Women's Affairs as part of its humanitarian response. Hope that the support will meet the immediate needs of up to 12,600 vulnerable women and girls by improving their food security and their access to hygiene.
The Minister of Women Affairs, Paul Talon, is appreciative of the gesture, promising equitable distribution among women across the 36 states.
We continue to appreciate and work together to see that Nigerian women are well cared for. These palliatives and whatever we're reaching out to, the poorest of the poor, those who live on daily business to earn their living.
38,453,660 naira is the support received. In Abuja, Momso Damien Ati, NTA News.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic seems to have compounded the health challenges of the aged in Ondo State. But as Olajide Bello reports, the doors of the various health facilities are open to them even at these trying times.
Meet Pa Isaiah Rotimi. He is an 82-year-old retired police officer. We came early enough to meet him doing his early morning physical exercises round his compound in Temidire community in Akure. Pa Isaiah Rotimi says regular physical exercises have become his main strategy to stay healthy and alive in this era of COVID-19.
If I want to take my food early in the morning, I will take banana, apple, vegetable.
These are very challenging times for the elderly, as the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 8 out of 10 deaths reported globally are adults 65 years old and above. The WHO even puts it in greater perspective when it revealed that older people and those with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart and lung diseases are more vulnerable. This is the teaching hospital within the heart of Akure, the tertiary health center that attends to all categories of people. But with the coronavirus pandemic, the activities have been drastically scaled down, but the elderly are still welcome.
We are seeing all patients, the elderly, children, emergency rooms were open.
While the health institutions are open to all categories of people in Ondo State, the challenge faced by the elderly most times is mobility, especially in this period of lockdown. But many of them still find their way to their healthcare providers.
Well, I had to go to somewhere yesterday just for a medical checkup somehow, private hospital. I was attended to very well. I had no problem with those who attended to me.
Only herbs and roots and natural can help us.
But one thing that we noticed is that the elderly seem to be more compliant to the various government directives on social distancing, hand washing, and use of face mask. As a matter of fact, Pa Isaiah Rotimi says he is in the vanguard of reinforcing the various messages of hygiene and wearing of face mask. From Akure, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Thanks, Olajide. Now, despite the increased pressure and apprehension in Kebbi State, which so far recorded 12 cases of COVID-19, health facilities have continued to render normal service without discrimination. Nura Tanko Wakili reports that the elderly are said to be given special attention, looking at their vulnerability to the disease.
Coronavirus pandemic has placed undue pressure on health personnel and facilities across the country, with Kebbi State having its fair share of the challenge. At this trying moment, the elderly are said to be the most vulnerable and prone to all forms of diseases, and therefore the most regular visitors to the hospitals.
Because they have underlying problems. Most of the old people have hypertension, diabetes, be it bronchial asthma or any other chronic illness.
In spite of these challenges, hospitals in Kebbi State have continued to receive and attend to patients, irrespective of their age and social status.
Go around and see, we still have a lot of them. All we are saying is henceforth from Monday, you can't enter this hospital without a mask.
Surgical, medical, pediatric, all the outpatients are open. And they are well ready to attend to cases. Patients on appointment are also received.
This, the hospital officials said, is in line with the mandate establishing them, but always putting the safety of their personnel first. This is Sayahaya Memorial Hospital in Kebbi, one of the premier hospitals in Kebbi State. Although stringent measures have been adopted by the hospital management to ensure compliance with guidelines in preventing the spread of COVID-19, normal hospital routines are going on without hitches. The hospital has established a fully equipped 6-bed intensive care unit with ventilators to handle emergencies from all forms of complications, including COVID-19. In Birnin Kebbi, Nura Tanko Akili, NTA News.
Pursuant to the Nigeria Police Trust Fund Establishment Act 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of retired Inspector General of Police, Barrister Suleiman Abba, CFR MNI, as Chairman Board of Trustees of the Nigeria Police Trust Fund. The President also approved the appointments of the following as the Executive Secretary and members of the board respectively: Ahmed Aliu Sokoto, Executive Secretary; Namdi Morris Mbairi, representing Ministry of Police Affairs; Inspector General of Police, representing the Nigeria Police Force; Usman Bilkisu, representing Ministry of Justice; Ben Akabweze, Director General, Budget and National Planning, representing Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning; Mansour Ahmed, representing Organized Labor; Dr. Michael Bamidele Adebi, representing Civil Society Groups. A statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the above appointments are in line with the Buhari administration's commitment and drive to retooling policing architecture in the country. The Police Trust Fund was set up to meet the aspiration of a well-funded, equipped and highly professional Nigeria Police Force in accordance with international best practices. The President also commended state governors, members of the National Assembly and Nigerians for their patriotic and spirited efforts at reforming policing architecture to deepen the country's internal security. The announcement of the date of inauguration of the Board of Trustees of the Police Trust Fund will be made known to the public by the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Maigari, on a later date.
Now, a total number of 343 Boko Haram and Islamic State West African fighters met their Waterloo, while 16 criminal informants kept behind bars after military and other security agency operations. The coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, announced this at a news conference in Abuja. Ismail Musa reports.
The periodic news conference provides update on armed forces and other security agencies' operations across the country between 18th March to 5th May 2020.
Troops of Operation Wellstroke during the period reviewed clamped down on armed militia and other bandits in Benue and Taraba states. Within the period, troops rescued 7 kidnapped victims and recovered large catch of arms.
Apart from the killing of 343 Boko Haram fighters, arrest of 16 informants, a total of 24 kidnapped victims were rescued, while 153 bandits eliminated.
Several bandits' locations and hideouts were cleared with close air support provided for ground troops. A total of 17 kidnapped victims were rescued,
Similarly, several maritime operations were conducted to safeguard the nation's oil assets in the Niger Delta region.
A total of 61 illegal refining sites were discovered during anti-crude oil and anti-illegal bunkering operations in the Niger Delta region.
The Navy also rescued 3 fishermen whose trawler caught fire in the Lagos axis. The Defense Headquarters appealed for regular intelligence report to enhance proactive response to security threats across the country. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Nigeria Football Federation says FIFA's grant will be spent on football administration as Manchester United keen to extend Odion Ighalo's stay at Old Trafford. Let's join our sports desk for more details.